Hey, welcome to Crossroads. In today's episode, I'll be giving an update first on the attempt to remove Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot. Also, right now, Iran, including its proxies, are threatening the Mediterranean Sea. They're attacking shipping channels. There's a lot going on with this, and I'll explain the broader context of that with the CCP strategy of the string of pearls. A lot going on, pretty important stuff. First off, though, right now, the Maine Secretary of State is now trying to remove Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot. And people are questioning, well, does the Secretary of State actually have the authority to do that? It's actually debatable based on previous Supreme Court rulings. We've seen that, for example, election decisions are not limited to the state legislature, not limited to the governor, not limited to the Secretary of State. That needs to be kind of a process between all of them, and so it's questionable whether this is going to hold up. The challenge to the 2024 ballot from the Maine Secretary of State is being challenged by Republicans and by the Trump campaign. Regardless, though, it seems the goal of this is to push it into court, and it's very likely going to head into court now. It's possible the case will not result in a decision on the 14th Amendment. That's going to be the big question here with the broader implications for the whole country. The case in Maine could just go into limits, for example, on legal powers of a Secretary of State. And so, again, we'll see how this goes. The big context of this, though, is the Colorado case where the Colorado Supreme Court did, in fact, rule to remove Donald Trump from the ballots. Republicans, as an update on this, they issued a formal request to the Supreme Court to take up the case, and the attempt in Colorado, because of that, is now on hold, and we're going to wait and see now whether there's going to be a decision from the Supreme Court. You know, we're just coming out of the holiday season. Supreme Court, despite how big this is, they did not really confirm or say much during the time. And so, we're coming into the week now, beginning all this, and we might be able to get a word from the Supreme Court now on, how they're going to be moving forward with it. As things currently stand, the move to remove Trump from the ballot in Colorado and in Maine, it's kind of still going on, but we're waiting now for the Supreme Court decision. And depending on what the Supreme Court says, whether they ruled it's legal or illegal, that is going to set the decision for the entire country. If the Supreme Court determines that, hey, yeah, Colorado can remove Trump from the ballot, you're very likely going to see that replicated throughout the entire country, or at least a lot of it. And if they rule that no, they cannot remove Trump from the ballot, you're going to see that likely ripple as well. And the attempt on this front is going to come to a pretty swift end. Now, that said, of course, we can go into this more later. But something else big is happening right now. Iran is threatening to close the Mediterranean Sea. And this is bigger than just the Mediterranean. This is bigger than just even Iran. This ties into a much broader conflict when it comes to trade war, international shipping, and maritime sovereignty. This ties into, I'd say, a broader economic war taking place mainly between the U.S. and China. And Iran is acting like a proxy within this, and of course the Houthis as well. Now, as conflicts with Russia, Iran, and potentially China right now are increasing, there's now an effort on who's going to control the international shipping channels. The emerging threat relates to the so-called string of pearls of the Chinese Communist Party. I'll get into that. The CCP has been trying to gain a foothold in all the major global shipping choke points. Everywhere where you have a shipping choke point, the CCP is trying to gain control of the ports, and it's also building military bases. You see this, for example, in Djibouti in the Horn of Africa. You see it, for example, in the Panama Canal, including in the new canals the CCP is building. You see it, for example, in all the other major areas, including around Taiwan. If the CCP gains control of that means control of international shipping. Control of international shipping means control of the international economy. And as global conflicts grow, so grows the risk of these channels being cut off. Because a country, if you control these channels, you can determine who gets through and who does not. And if a country is not able to get through international shipping channels, that means global economics, the global supply chains, belong to one country or another. Now, we've lived under a very unique time in history with the United States having the Pax Americana, where America has become the de facto, world government, essentially, even whether we like that position or not. And America has maintained a standard where we don't charge people, we provide international security, we secure international shipping lanes, we don't deny people access to it, we don't deny countries access to it. And for the most part, America does this as just almost like a global service. That has never been the norm for the world. And if the CCP is able to gain control of it, it's very likely that that norm that America has established will come to an end. We see now that Iran is threatening these channels and trying to shut them off. And that's one of the big concerns of what the future holds if this is allowed to stand. Let me show you this first. This is The Hill. It says Iran threatened Saturday that the Mediterranean Sea could be closed if the U.S. and Israel continue crimes in Gaza, according to state media, according to Reuters. And they say this is according to state media in Iran. They're quoting an Iranian brigadier general. It says this: they shall soon await the closure of the Mediterranean Sea, the Strait of Gibraltar, and other waterways. And we've, of course, seen some examples of them doing this where you have these, Houthi fighters, terrorist groups, launching attacks on shipping containers. Ships bring these shipping containers. They even managed to sink one ship. You have the U.S. trying to tell these ships, keep going through, don't stop. A lot of international shippers, businesses that run these supply chains, they're avoiding certain areas right now. And if America is not able to provide proper security, that means a shipping channel has now been denied. Now, keep in mind that denying a shipping channel is not just, for example, shutting it down completely, which Iran is threatening to do and which these Houthi fighters are saying they will do. It also ties into the perception of security. If you're a private business and you risk, for example, losing an entire ship, whether it's through piracy or whether it's through terrorists or whether it's through the actions of an entire nation, in this case, Iran, are you willing to risk it? And do you believe that security will be provided, as the U.S. is saying it will provide it? Well, again, that's going to be you putting your neck on the line on the credibility of the United States and its international security systems. America has since actually shot at and killed several of these Houthi fighters while defending these ships, and this could very likely escalate as well into a broader terror war with, ironically, the targets of the terrorists being these shipping channels. It's unclear right now, according to this report, how Iran is going to follow through on this threat where it says it's going to shut down, the Mediterranean Sea. This is as the country has no direct access to the Mediterranean Sea and no major naval presence outside the Persian Gulf. Very likely what we're seeing, though, is that Iran is going to use proxy forces like the Houthis to do its work for it.